Good afternoon, everyone. Whether it's afternoon when you're watching this, I'm not sure, but it's afternoon when I'm taping this, so I guess that's what matters. I've got my cup of tea here because I've been working all day. I've been doing a lot of talking. Got my little elephant teapot. I love this teapot. So I might be sipping my tea every once in a while. It's a lovely organic herbal mint tea that I'm drinking. I'm drinking it partly because, like I said, I've been working all day and I've been doing a lot of talking as I do. And last night I also did my Starting Success Right Now workshop. So I've done this talk a few times, both as a guest speaker and as a presenter or facilitator of the workshop. So it's actually quite a informative workshop, I find. I know I follow a lot of these things and I try to incorporate them into my day, and it's about changing the mundane into the sacred kind of thing. And it changes your energy when you start every day off like this. So these are things that you generally want to do in the morning to start your day. Now you don't have to do them all because we don't all have tons of time necessarily, but you want to figure out ways to incorporate some of these things in your day, perhaps in the morning, perhaps throughout the day, but it creates an energy of success. It creates an energy of sort of the divine coming into your life. I found since I've started sort of incorporating these things in I very rarely have a bad day. I very rarely go out thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to go do this. I mean, you still have those moments, but it changes your perspective and it changes the way you approach things. In one of my videos, I talk about the 2 most powerful phrases you can use. Now, I think I still have to do part 2 of that one because I gave you the first one. The first most powerful phrase is I want. The second most powerful phrase that you can use in your life is I get to. And this kind of talks a little bit, I've got my cue cards here, a little bit about the I get to. And this talks about getting yourself out of bed and just taking charge every day, waking up dancing, and ready to start your day. Because again, you're changing things from the mundane to the sacred. So I'm going to talk about habits, changing those habits into routines, and then changing those routines into rituals. Because that's how you take the mundane and make it sacred. You make it a ritual. So I have a couple of quotes here. Now, one of the quotes I have is the rite of passage. And that's something we're kind of losing in this society. People are always talking about, young people don't have the same rites of passage that we once did. But you can have rites of passage and you can create them for yourself as well. And this phrase was actually coined by anthropologist Arnold van Gennep, I believe is how his last name's pronounced. In his 1909 book, and it's called The Rites of Passage. And the word rite or ritual, both kind of the same roots for those words, actually comes from the Latin word ritus, which means river. So the rite of passage is a river. And when you change something to a ritual within your mundane life, a mundane activity into a ritual, it becomes the flow of a river. So it tends to flow, your life tends to flow better. And like I said, it's the life force. The river is kind of like a life force or spirit that flows through every living thing. And when we take time to mark a passage, we are dipping into that river of life and making it a ritual. So that's what we're doing when we're making a ritual, marking that space and time, and we're sort of reinventing our work. Now some of it might not seem like work, what I'm going to present, but you can also make work a ritual, because some of us complain about our jobs, and the only ritual is a quote here, only ritual teaches us to honor the sacred. And really your job is sacred, because I always jokingly say through readings and soul sessions and things is, even if you hate your job, if you're working there and you suddenly don't get a paycheck for it, you're going to get pretty passionate and treat it as, you know, that's a sacred thing. You have to give me my paycheck. I put in the hours. I deserve the money in return for those hours. It's an energy exchange, and it's a sacred energy exchange. So be thankful for whatever job you have right now. It doesn't mean it can't change, but right now it's what puts food on your table and a roof over your head and that sort of thing. So it's always good to be thankful for your job. But again, I digress. So what can you do to make your life more of a ritual in the beginning, from the time you wake up, and make it so that you're creating the energy of success for every single day, so that no matter what happens, you're always moving forward in some way. You're growing, you're creating that success, which then starts to snowball and create more success, makes it better and easier to manifest what your real sort of dream things are, like your dream job, your dream home, your dream love, whatever it might be. So number one, and I tell this to clients all the time, the number one thing to do the first second you wake up, before you're even fully awake, is smile. Just you're just like lying on your pillow and just smile. You might look silly, but no one's there to see you, so it's all good. Or maybe your spouse is on the other side, who knows. But just smile. Because when we smile, our brain doesn't know the difference between us smiling when we're upset or smiling when we're really happy. Our brain gets triggered, chemically speaking, when we smile, and it thinks automatically we're happy. So it starts saying, oh, she's happy. Send out the endorphins, make her feel good because she's smiling. And that's why humor is such a healing element. You know, when you watch a funny movie, or if you're watching like a stand-up comedian and he or she is really making you like laugh, belly laughs, you can't help but feel good. When you watch a baby giggle, it's a little bit contagious. You start smiling and laughing and thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I feel so good because that baby's so cute. Or, you know, that's why people love like dog and cat videos, or in my case, panda bear videos. My client gave me this panda bear ring today. So when you watch those things, it makes you feel good, and it creates those endorphins in your brain. So you think you're happy and you become happy. So that's one way, a great way to start your day. So you're smiling, you're already getting out of bed happy, you're not sad or upset or whatever it might be. Now, the first sort of ritual outside of the smiling ritual is the dream ritual. And I often advise people to remember your dreams. Now, a lot of people say, I can't remember my dreams. I don't remember my dreams. I find it really hard. So one way to kind of trick your brain into remembering your dreams, because the reason we often don't remember our dreams is because dreams are, by our conscious mind, considered a spiritual experience. So when you're asleep, your subconscious mind is in charge. That's where the dreams come from. It's sending us messages. It's working out problems. It's dealing with emotions that we went through all the day before, kind of thing. It's processing a lot of information. So when our conscious mind, after 7 or 8 hours, ideally, is awake now. So now it's in charge. So the subconscious mind sort of takes a step back and the conscious mind takes over. So the conscious mind, when it first wakes up, is kind of in what's called survival state. Because like I said, you've gone 7 or 8 hours of sleep, which is great. However, you haven't gone to the bathroom, you haven't hydrated, you haven't eaten, you haven't moved around too much in those 7 or 8 hours. So your body, your conscious mind is saying, physically, we need to do all these things. We need to go to the bathroom, we need to get a drink, we need to start eating, we need to move around a little bit and stretch and get the blood flowing, that sort of thing. So it instantly starts to try and bury your dreams. So often, even no matter how weird your dream is and you think there's no way I could forget that, by the time you're done peeing, that's what I do first thing in the morning, is you've forgotten. You know, it's like, oh, what was that again? Kind of thing. So I find to keep a dream journal right by your bed, and before you really get out of bed, start writing points down. You don't have to write full sentences yet or anything like that. Just, purple elephant, green shoe, a clock, you writing points so it sort of triggers your memory again into, oh yeah, okay, that was really weird. There was an purple elephant sitting on a clock and he offered me a green shoe. That's not a dream I've ever really had, but I just was trying to think of bizarre things. So as we go through our day doing projects and talking to people and creating things and observing things and going about our day, we come up against problems, challenges, and disturbances and conflicts and whatnot. So our dream is kind of dealing with all this stuff, and it gives it to us in very cryptic messages. So it's best to kind of write down points, and then you can fill out sentences when you get a chance, kind of thing. Because our like I said, our conscious mind is in charge when we first wake up, and it's trying to bury that dream thinking it's a spiritual experience because it feels the same to the brain. Now, our conscious mind is actually our slower mind. So when it takes in 60 bits of information per second, 60 bits of information per second when we're awake, that's what we're taking in. So it's a lot, right? But our subconscious mind is not asleep. It's not like, oh, okay, conscious mind take over, I'll be in the back napping. It's also taking in the same information. But our subconscious mind is much bigger and much more powerful than our conscious mind. But the real power is when we get them aligned. But our subconscious mind actually takes in, compared to the 60 bits of information per second, takes in 40 million bits of information per second, because we filter a lot out. So what I did last night in class is I got everyone to put their finger on their nose, and you start to notice your nose. You go a little cross-eyed when you do that. So if you're looking at your finger, you're looking at your nose, and then suddenly you notice your nose. All day long, our conscious mind is filtering out our nose, because we should be able to see our nose, but our nose would get to be a distraction, would get in the way, we'd all be walking around cross-eyed, and we'd see nothing but our nose. So, and I guess maybe that's where the saying is, she can't see past her nose comes from. But that being said, the conscious mind is filtering out our nose, because it knows in order for us to get through our day and do the things we need to do to survive, we can't be looking at our nose all day long. So it filters it out. And our conscious mind filters out a lot of things. And it filters out anything it doesn't see as necessary. So that's why it's so important to get your conscious and subconscious mind aligned. Because when they're in alignment, then suddenly what the subconscious mind knows that we need, the conscious mind is actively looking for it. So that's interesting, because have you ever gone looking for, say you're shopping for a new car and you decide you want a beautiful new red car or something, and then suddenly you see all these red cars around that you didn't really realize were around this whole time. Pregnant women often notice a lot of other pregnant women, because of course pregnancy is on the brain as well as in the body for them. So you start to notice the things that you want, or the things that you desire, or the things you deem necessary. And that is deemed by your conscious mind a lot of the times. So remember, the brain never sleeps. It never sleeps. At night, our subconscious mind takes over and processes all the information that our conscious mind filtered out, that and the stuff it didn't filter out, and processes the emotional experience, good and not so good, all the experiences we had. It is also figuring out solutions. Our subconscious mind is figuring out solutions and ways to deal with our problems and challenges. So you can actually program your brain to actively search out a solution for a problem you have. My husband is actually really good at that. Some people are more gifted in it and just it comes naturally to them. Some of us have to work at it. There's also a thing called lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you're in a dream and you know you're in a dream and you can start to control the dream. And there's been lots of studies done on lucid dreaming, so it just proves the power of the mind. There's been people that have learned to ski, never having physically done it, in dream world alone, and then go out on the ski slopes and ski and are able to do it, never having been taught in the physical world. Same thing, there was a study, I believe, where a guy learned how to surf in his dream with lucid dreaming. So you can do these things with your mind. You can offer your mind solutions. I'm not solutions, problems, so that it comes up with solutions. And it's working it all night long, chugging away at that solution for you. And hopefully by the morning it has a solution, or maybe it needs a few nights, who knows. But the cool thing about keeping a dream journal is writing down those dreams and getting the messages that are coming through your dreams. Because A, you might not always remember your dream, and B, a lot of the times the solution or the message or what your brain is trying to tell you doesn't always come through in just one dream. There's two things that as humans we recognize sort of automatically. The first one is faces. We often see faces. We're just programmed to see faces, and we're programmed to recognize patterns. Those are the two things that we're kind of are programmed to recognize all the time. So our subconscious mind often speaks to us in what seems like a cryptic language, but really it's a patterned language. So the trick to getting the message from your subconscious mind, and the trick to dream journaling, I often call it in my program the looking glass etching book. And the reason I call it that is because it's a conglomeration of a bunch of journals. It's journaling after you've meditated. It's dream journaling. It's putting inspirational quotes or songs or just ideas in there as well. Setting goals. All of this goes into my journal. And I kind of keep the dream part in separate pages. But the trick, and now here's the thing, the looking glass part, it's a mirror. Your journal acts as a mirror for you, especially your dreams. So, and then it gets etched on you so that your brains, your subconscious and conscious minds come together when you look back. So when you look at your journal, because so many people will journal, and I know I've done this. I also have the gratitude journal mixed into this looking glass etching book. So what I do is I would, put down my thank yous, blah, 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 that sort of thing, and never look at it again. But I find when you look back on it, that's when you see the patterns. So when it comes to just straight up journaling, or journaling after meditation, or doing gratitude or inspiration journaling, you find how you grow, like how your tastes change, how your inspiration change, how your path has changed. That's beautiful. But when it comes to the dream part, looking back, you suddenly see the pattern of your dreams, and you're like, oh, that's the message I'm trying to tell myself. Because really, it's you talking. It's you talking to yourself, giving yourself messages. It's sort of what I like to call the smarter part of me. So it's you talking to yourself, giving you solutions, messages, directions, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, the trick is not to just journal your dreams, but to actually look back on your dreams, find the message. Because a lot of times we'll have a really weird dream and we'll be like, wow, that was really weird. Well, we've actually probably had that dream a few times in various different forms, 4 or 5 times, and there's actually a pattern there. Our brain, our subconscious brain, is writing us a beautiful love letter, but it only writes a little bit at a time. Like we journal, we don't journal our whole life in one big shot. We do it a little bit at a time. Same thing with our conscious mind. It does it a little bit at a time, and it's hoping that you'll pick up on the pattern. It's easier to do that if you are writing down what your subconscious mind is telling you every night, as opposed to, geez, I dreamed about that purple elephant again. I dreamed about it a couple months ago. You've probably been dreaming about it quite a bit, but you're not always writing it. So try to write down as much as you can, as many nights in a row or days in a row to do that. So that's your dream ritual. And when you make it a ritual, it just, like I said, it becomes a habit, then it becomes a routine. And the more you do it, and then it becomes a ritual, And the more you do it, the more you're going to find you remember your dreams and you remember more details about your dreams. Some people just automatically remember their dreams, but maybe there's finer details that they would get the more they journal. Some people say, a lot of people tell me, I don't remember my dreams, blah, blah, blah. It's because we're busy. It's usually very stressed out people that don't remember their dreams because their brain's already stressed when they wake up. And then it's like, bury that dream as fast as we can because we got to get her out the door to her work. So you'll find that you suddenly get the love notes from your dreams if you start dream journaling, and you'll find that you remember your dreams a lot more and in more detail. So the third thing is the bed ritual, I call it, and it is make your bed. So I know there's been lots of studies about, successful people make their beds and blah, blah, blah. And there's, all kinds of scientific reasons why, and there is. And here's the why it is important. Because it creates a mindset of successful completion. It's the first completed thing you've done in the day. And when your brain and your body and your spirit know that you've successfully completed something, it sets up a pattern for you to successfully complete other things in your day. So that's why the military does it, because it's setting up a completion right away and a successful completion. So by taking 2 minutes to make your bed, you don't have to do military style, 4 corners. I'm like fluffing a blanket and just like, okay, it's straight. That's making the bed for me. But the brain registers that you've successfully finished something. So finishing something is very important, and doing it first thing in the morning is really great. So I usually go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, make my bed. That's sort of my routine after I've smiled and written some stuff in my dream journal. And it only takes a couple of minutes to do the dream journal thing. Like I said, don't have to do full detail yet. Take it to work with you, or if you have time, fill it in over coffee. I do either or. Sometimes I take it to work, sometimes I do it over coffee, whatever it might be. So again, like I said, making your bed sets up that feeling of successfully completing other tasks throughout the day. It also creates a circle of success. So the circle of success is you come back around to it, right? So you've completed something first thing in the morning, and then by the end of the day, you come back to that bed that's been made. And the first task of completion is visited to you again. So it brings back that completion energy to you. But also, this is where it kind of becomes a ritual, is when you come back to it at night. Because now it's a ritual, and you're honoring yourself. You're honoring where you rest your body, where you rest your brain, and where you rest your spirit at night. And healing is a nocturnal thing. I used to be an esthetician in another life, as I say, and when I had clients that came in with really bad skin, if they were coming in for a facial, one of the first things I would ask is, how much sleep are you getting every night? Because if you're breaking out, or if you have super dry skin or whatnot, yes, moisturizers can help, or cleansing and exfoliating can help. But really, your skin needs some healing, some time to heal. And if you're not giving it the 7 or 8 hours it needs to heal, because again, like I said, healing is a nocturnal thing. Physically healing. That's why we get tired when we're sick. That's why when we're in the hospital, doctors and nurses are telling us to rest and sleep, and they want us to sleep, because it's not resting that is healing, it's sleeping that is healing. Like I said, it's a nocturnal activity. So more often than not, when I asked clients with skin difficulties, they said, well, no, I'm not really sleeping much. They may have been an insomniac, or they might, I'm just burning the candle at both ends. They're usually getting like between 4 and 6 hours of sleep, as opposed to the full 7 or 8 that's more beneficial. And I said, try getting some sleep, and you'll probably find that your skin changes a lot. And it does. And I know I start to get dry skin when I'm stressed and when I'm tired. So I've been lacking sleep. My dry skin shows up. I'm like, oh, I got to start, being more mindful of going to bed and giving myself that time that I need. So this is what I mean by it creates that success, that circle of success, because you're coming back to the completed task to remind you that you were successful. You at least had one completed task today, and it can only, get better from here kind of thing. So that's always good. And then also too, you're honoring where you lay your body at night and where you rest your body and where you do your healing. So that's where it becomes a bit of a ritual. So when you're making your bed, like I said, I'm not doing the 4 straight corners like military style, but I am knowing that when I fluff that blanket, I'm coming back to this, and that this is where I lay my body. So I'm going to fluff out the blanket so it looks nice and it's comfortable and all that kind of stuff. And I look forward to going to sleep. I mean, most people do, but it's better if you really make it a ritual too. So then the next ritual is the water ritual. So you can be writing all this down, by the way. Play me again as many times as you need. So the water ritual, drink lots of water. Because again, like I said, the conscious mind is awake and it knows you've gone 7 or 8 hours, generally speaking, unless you got a glass of water right by your bed and you happen to take a sip during the night. But even that is, it's not like you're glugging back a whole glass. You're usually just, taking a sip. So your brain and your body are mostly water, as we heard in science when we were kids in school. And your brain in particular is 80% water. A lot of people say, oh, we're 80% water. Well, our whole body's not 80% water. There's a lot of muscle and bone and stuff in there. But our brain is about 80% water. And every morning, I try to have a glass of cold water. And I can't remember what's a Chinese tradition or an Asian or a Japanese tradition. I think it's Chinese, but don't quote me on this. I read some article about where they think it's good luck to start your day with a glass of water and end your day with a glass of water. And I'm like, that's such good advice. So after reading that article, now I start my day with a glass of water and I end my day with a glass of water. And yes, I've noticed great improvement, both in lack of mental fatigue, lack of physical fatigue. I used to get really bad leg cramps at night. I don't get them as much. If I do skip that water, I do notice it. So definitely lots of water makes a big difference. So then I also brew a cup of water, hot water with lemon. Sometimes I just drink the hot water. I don't always put the lemon in it. I know, I'm one of those weird people. I can just drink hot water sometimes. Although I like really cold water in the summer, so I put it in the freezer then. But I always try to start my day with a cup of water. And it doesn't have to be a big, pail sized glass of water. It can just be a glass of water. When they say you need your 8 cups of water, they're talking about an actual cup, so they're talking about like a cup, not a cup kind of thing, right? Because people are thinking, oh my God, I have to drink so much water. Really, a cup is not that big, and you can burn through 8 cups of water pretty quick if you want to. This also helps to dispel any morning fog if you suffer from morning fog, or you want to sort of kickstart your brain. It really helps with that. Like I said, the mental fatigue, since I've been starting my day with water and ending my day with water, has really gone down a lot, because I would be always sort of dragging myself, and I felt like I was dragging my head half the time. So it wakes your brain up, which is great, because your brain needs water. And that's when we get dehydrated. That's our brain when we start to get the signals. And the funny thing is, one thing I heard from someone who I believe he was studying fitness and to be a personal trainer or whatever, and I thought this was really kind of neat, because your brain will actually send out weird signals for dehydration. It doesn't, like one of the last signals it'll send out is that you're thirsty, and then you're like, oh, I'd like a cup of water or a sip of water. Speaking of which, I'm going to sip my tea. So that's actually one of the last signals, which is kind of weird, right? But when you're craving sweets, if you suddenly want a sweet, it usually means you're thirsty. So try having a glass of water or a little cup of tea, and you'll find the craving for sweet goes away. Because I would crave sweets. I'd be like, well, I'm not really hungry, but weirdly I'm craving a sweet thing. You know, I want a cookie or, you know, something, some pastry or something, or a piece of pie or whatever. And it's like, oh, and then I started having a cup of tea instead. It's like, yeah, that did it. And I didn't put sugar in the tea. I'm not, I don't usually put sugar in my tea. So, so yeah, I was just thirsty. So remember that the next time you're craving a sweet. So like I said, you've gone 7, 8, maybe 9 hours without water. So we are very dehydrated in the morning. So remember that you're dehydrated when you wake up, and you lose a lot of water through the night. And even more so, like, I'm over 50 years old now, so I'm going into that menopause stage. So yeah, sometimes I wake up in the night and I'm covered in sweat. It's like I've got night sweats or something. It doesn't happen all the time, but every once in a while I'll be like, what the hell is wrong with me? But yeah, so you lose, and even when you're not going through that phase of life, we do lose a lot of moisture and water in the night, because our temperatures are going up and down, and all kinds of crazy things are happening that we're not even aware of, but we are dehydrated by the time we wake up. So that's why it's very important to have that water. Now, once you are in this water ritual, you'll notice it more than missing your morning coffee if you skip it. And that is true. I mean, the morning coffee, I do get a headache and it's like, oh, I need that coffee, but I miss the water even more. So the water ritual is very important. It's a great ritual to have, and it's one that you'll want to keep. So the next ritual is the self-care ritual, and it's brushing your teeth. Now, hopefully everybody does brush their teeth every morning, but why is this a self-care ritual? One, because you're cleaning yourself, you're cleaning your teeth, you're you know, often when you're doing your teeth, you're finding that you have time to think. That took me a minute to get to. So why? Well, you know, it's good hygiene for one thing, obviously. This probably isn't news to you. But how does it help you be successful? Other than not having bad breath, which no one wants that. Well, here's a trick. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. So what this does, so for me it's my left hand, and what this is doing is it's creating different neuron connections in your brain, because you're doing it differently. Because when you brush your teeth with if you're right-handed like myself, it's sort of, you can go on autopilot and kind of, you know, kind of thing. And you're brushing your teeth and maybe you're thinking, and that's fine. You're reflecting on things. But inside your brain, it's just kind of like, this is what we do. So every once in a while, don't do it every morning, because you don't want this to become a habit either, like, so that you're not creating those connections. But by suddenly using your left hand or your non-dominant hand, your brain has to think about what it's doing, because it's like, oh my gosh, okay, this is different, you know. So it snaps it out of autopilot, it snaps it out of the morning fog. And this, I usually have my water after I brush my teeth, so I'm doing a double duty as far as snapping my brain awake kind of thing. So you're essentially forcing your mind to think differently. It's like taking a different route from work to home, or home to work, or whatever. It's equivalent to learning a new language, as far as what's going on in your brain. It doesn't mean now you can speak French or you're fluent in Portuguese or something. It just means that it's sort of the same effect as learning a new language or learning a musical instrument, that sort of thing. You're firing the same neurons and you're making different connections in your brain. So it helps to wake up your brain. It also helps to guard against things like Alzheimer's and dementia, things like that. I'm not a doctor, so this is not professional medical advice, but it opens your mind, it gets it out of autopilot, and it runs it where it may be stuck in, like patterns that it's stuck in. This makes your brain able to observe more keenly through the rest of your day. You may find you're thinking faster, and you may puzzle through problems more quickly when you do that. Can you tell today wasn't one of those days that I brushed my teeth with my left hand? Because I'm sort of like, oh, what am I doing? It's because I did the workshop last night, and then I've been going all day long with sessions and tarot readings, so I'm a little tired, but I enjoy doing this. So I wanted to get this up and ready for you guys. So then there's the breathing ritual. So one of the physical systems, because we all have different systems, right? We have the heart system and the lungs that breathe and or the lungs that take in oxygen, the heart that beats. We have our digestive system. All those systems are great, keep us alive and whatnot. Then we have our waste system, but we can't control it. It's not like, I eat something and then I sit there and go, okay, stomach, digest, digest, digest. I'm not physically commanding it to digest. My body just knows when things come down the pipe. It sends out the acids to digest it, sends it wherever it needs to go, puts some down the waste shaft there, and away we go to the circus. And same thing with our heart. It's not like we sit there and go beat, 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 And yes, we breathe automatically, but we can control our breath. Like we can actually hold our breath and stop. It's not like we can stop our heart. It's not like when I eat something and go, look guys, I can make it not digest for a few minutes. It's like my body's just going to take the food and digest it. I don't have control over that, physically speaking. But breathing, you do have control over. So deep breathing exercises can really help you. Now, my HEAP clients that do the Heap of Abundance, so HEAP stands for Happily Ever After program, and it's all about mastering life and creating the life of happiness and joy and creating the destiny that you want, kind of thing. So my HEAP clients, or clients that do the soul sessions, because that's kind of what the HEAP sessions are, have very specific and magical, powerful exercises given to them. But oxygen is very good for the brain. And most of us are not breathing properly. So I have another workshop, and I'm going to be putting it up here. I'll be putting it on my Patreon channel. It's called The Magic of Me. And one of the things I talk about is breathing, and the fact that we can control it, the fact that we can use it to increase our health, increase our mental powers, increase just about everything in our life. And there's, like I said, right now in society, most of us are not breathing properly. There's an increase of CPAP machines because we're stopping breathing at night, or we're not breathing properly, that sort of thing. And we're also, as a society, often in that flight, fight, freeze, or fawn mode. So people usually forget about the freeze and the fawning, and they think just fight or flight, kind of run away or fight. And there's more than that. There's freezing and there's fawning as well. So when you're in that red zone mode, let's call it the red zone mode, so we don't have to go through all 4 of those words every time. So when you go into that red zone mode, that served us well when we were, nomads wandering the lands and wanted to know, how to handle when the saber-toothed tiger came up to us. And it is still serving us well. When we're in a dangerous situation, when we get into that red zone, it helps serve us to be able to run, to be able to fight, to be able to freeze if it serves us. But the problem is we tend to be there all the time now because we're so connected. We're always connected to our phones, to our computers, to some kind of tablet or machine. Job hours are becoming more demanding and longer. And even when you're gone from work, they want you to stay connected in case they need to get a hold of you, that sort of thing. And there's a reason why road rage has risen, because we're in that zone. When we're in the red zone, we actively look for things that are potential threats. We tend to see things more as potential threats because we what if things and we worst case scenario things. Like that guy's walking down the street. Now, normally if you're not in the red zone, you might say, there's a gentleman walking down the street. That's okay. When you're in the red zone, if you're stressed about something or, something's eating away at you kind of thing, you're in that red zone. So you might see that guy walking down the street. He might mug me. He might attack me. I better be ready. I'm ready. I've got keys in my thumb, how they tell you to hold your keys, and I'm ready to hit him with my purse if I need to or whatever, right? So that's being in the red zone and looking, and he could just be a guy walking down the street, and yet I'm putting all this, he could want to attack me. He could want to mug me. He could want to hurt me or harm me in some way. He could be the nicest guy on the planet, and yet I'm visiting all that on him because I'm in the red zone. So when we're in the red zone, we're also breathing differently. Now it serves us well if we need to run because we're breathing more shallowly, and a lot of our blood goes to our core because it wants our heart to get all this blood. It gives us a shot of adrenaline, so our muscles react really fast. That's where you get that, the mom lifting the car off the baby kind of strength when you're in that red zone. So in those kind of situations, it serves us. But if we're there all the time, we're not supposed to be getting those shots of adrenaline all the time. And that's why I think the increase of energy drinks has gone up, because we get used to having that shot of adrenaline and always going kind of thing. And we need to learn how to slow down a little bit. Now, generally speaking, as a human being, you're supposed to take 40 deep breaths every day. Most people are not even doing over 20. Because again, a lot of times we're in that red zone, and we don't have to be angry or stressed. A lot of us are to be in the red zone. It could be, they've done studies watching people playing video games, right? I'm not bashing video games. I love video games, but I have noticed it myself when I'm playing and I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost there, or whatever, whatever game I'm playing. You do tend to hold your breath, and you're breathing in, but you forget to breathe out. So you're going, and you're doing that. So you're taking that breath in. It's not a deep breath, and you're just barely letting it out. So a lot of us sometimes will take the breath in, but we forget to take the breath out. Now, it doesn't seem logical, right? But if you breathe in, you gotta breathe out. Yeah, but until you start doing actual breathing exercises, you don't realize how much you're not breathing out. That was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, geez, I'm not really breathing out. Yeah, I'm breathing in, not breathing out all the time. And you breathe out a little bit, but you're not always breathing out completely. And that's the idea. 40 complete breaths. That's all the way in and all the way out deeply. So, so most of us are taking less than 10 to 20, and we're supposed to be doing 40. So I go into the full science in the Magic of Me. So if you want to follow that, I'll be putting that up at some point on my Patreon channel. It's not up there yet, but join the crew, because there are other videos up there right now. And although our brain is only 2% of your body weight, on average, it uses 20% of the nutrients and oxygen you bring into your body. So deep breathing can help with, and I go into more detail in the Magic of Me video, but here are some points. So deep breathing can help with mental fatigue that leads to physical fatigue, because you usually get mentally tired before you get physically tired. It can lower your blood pressure, so those of you that have high blood pressure. It helps to regulate mood, and it gets you out of the red zone, the 4 F's mode. So it gets you out of there. So if you are there, doing deep breathing actually takes you away from there. So that's good. So when you're stressed or angry or getting frustrated and you're getting to that, I'm going to blow my stack, start doing deep breathing. It'll help bring that down. It feeds your brain, because your brain needs oxygen, and that's also why you yawn, by the way. It's not always because you're tired, because some people will be yawning through the day and they'll be like, I got enough sleep. I slept, and yet I'm yawning. It's because your brain needs some oxygen. So that's why you yawn, and some of you might be yawning right now, because I suddenly have the urge to yawn when you start talking about yawning. But yeah, you yawn because your brain needs that oxygen. It's forcing you to take that deep breath in and out, because that's what a yawn is. And also that's why you yawn right before you go to bed, not necessarily because you're tired. That's part of it. But really the science and what your brain is doing then and what your body is doing is it knows okay, this is her regular bedtime. Let's start getting her to yawn, because the subconscious mind needs a lot of oxygen before you go to sleep. And it might also be, maybe you don't breathe well through the night, and maybe your body knows that, and then starts getting you to yawn so that there's some oxygen that your brain can work with through the night. Yawning forces you to take that deep breath in. That's the thing. So journaling ritual. I know we already talked about dream journaling. So great time to sip your hot water. That's usually what I'm doing when I'm filling in the blanks of my dreams, is when I'm sipping my hot water. So there's a whole special journaling process that is extremely powerful for changing your life, keeping you focused and on track. And this process also helps you find answers. Like I said, I mentioned it, it's the Looking Glass Etching book. And I did talk about, the trick of it is to look back and find the patterns. And that's part of my Heap sessions too, or my soul sessions. But I find the mind and soul thrive on gratitude. So you can start with journaling what you are grateful for. Because sometimes people they love the idea of journaling, but they're like, what do I write down? Start with gratitude. Start with a list of things you're grateful for. Start looking around saying, oh yeah, I'm really thankful for this. This brings me great joy, or whatever it is. They did a story of a group of long-living nuns in Time magazine. And there were two things that kept coming up as perhaps as to why they lived so long. The number one thing was gratitude. They were grateful for everything they had. The second thing was being lifelong learners. They always were curious about things and wanted to learn new things, both about the world and about themselves and about each other. So also geniuses tend to keep journals. So I'll tell you what company you're in if you decide to keep a journal. You're in the company of Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, and Madame Curie, just to name a few people. Plus, putting pen to paper engages your mind on a different level. And I do recommend not a digital journal, but an actual physical journal where you're writing. Writing is another skill we're losing, unfortunately. But putting pen to paper is an activity that engages your mind in a different way. If you want to remember things, write it in blue, because you tend to remember things written in blue better than any other ink color. Just putting that out there too. So we're almost done here. Number 8 is 3 to 4 minutes of movement. So I'm not asking you to put in a whole gym routine. I'm not saying, get on the treadmill for half an hour or an hour or whatever. 3 to 4 minutes of movement will create success in your day. Doesn't mean you can skip the gym. This is not a gym session. What this is it's the ritual of movement. So move. Just simply move. Whether it's a few jumping jacks, whether it's burpees. I don't like burpees, but I know they get the blood flowing. Or just some simple stretching. Even stretching is good. Get your body moving, get the blood flowing again. You've just spent 7, 8, 9 hours lying down and being still. So go outside for a 5-minute walk even. And this leads me to my next point, connecting with nature. So you do a little bit of stretching, a couple minutes of stretching. You go outside, 5 minutes tops. So like I said, I'm not asking for a lot of your day here. Connecting with nature, so the nature ritual. And this is important, and it sounds silly. Even if you just go outside and see how the weather feels. Notice the trees, the birds, the plants, the clouds, they are there. A lot of people think when I say connect to nature, they gotta get in their car and drive, half an hour out of town and find a beautiful spot to go walk in the woods. No, you don't need to do that. You can do that on a Sunday or something, when you've got some time to do that, if you want to go on that kind of nature walk. But there's nature everywhere. And we're very blessed in Canada. We do have a lot of nature everywhere, even right outside our door. But too often we completely ignore the nature that is right outside our door. Yes, it's great to pack up the car and drive out somewhere for some forest bathing or forest therapy, but you don't need to do that. 5 minutes outside, just seeing what the sun is doing, seeing what the clouds are doing, seeing what the birds are doing, seeing if there's wind in the air, that sort of thing. It's great to notice the nature where you are, and you'll start to notice patterns too, right? What birds are around, how the trees are reacting, that sort of thing. It calms your body and your mind, and it makes you naturally breathe deeper. When you're outside, you'll tend to breathe deeper, because how many times have you been out you know, under a tree, or looking up at the stars at night and going, and it's a release. So that's a great way to start your day. It's also a great way to end your day. Going outside, just looking around, seeing what's happening in the sky, with the trees around you, with the animal life around you, with the plant life around you, and just letting go for a minute. And then you can get back into your world. But you get back into your world in a more centered, stronger, more stable position. Now the next ritual, and I think this is the last, no, there's one more ritual. So 2 more rituals to go. Very easy though. The breakfast ritual, or the nurturing ritual. So have a healthy breakfast. Take, I say take, and then I say no. Make the time to feed your body. Thus your brain, because your brain takes 20% of all the nutrients that come in. The brain's like the house in a casino. It always gets the most. To serve yourself, it can be a quick smoothie or a sit-down eggs and bacon breakfast, whatever you choose to do, but make it a ritual. Even if it's a quick smoothie, even if it's like, I'm just going to pop a piece of toast in the toaster and butter it up. Make it a ritual. Be mindful about how you do it. This is something you're about to ingest and put into your body. So bless the food, be thankful for the food, prepare the food knowing it's going into your body and nobody else's body. So be grateful, like I said, for the bounty that you have. Try not to rush this step too much. I know it's tempting. I got to get out the door. Come on, let's go. Slap some butter on that. Let's go, kind of thing. But feeding yourself is extremely important. And let me change my card here. And starts your day with your mind, body, and soul in the mindset that you are important. If you rush the feeding thing, doesn't mean you can't do it quickly, but you can mindfully do it quickly. And you're taking time to nurture and nourish yourself. So what you're saying through your actions, because actions speak louder than words, what you're saying to your soul, to your mind, and to your body is that I care for you and you are important and that you are worth it. You are worth the time to butter the piece of bread, to make that smoothie, that delicious smoothie, to do up the bacon and eggs. I wouldn't suggest bacon and eggs every morning, but you know, take the time. A good breakfast ritual can be life-changing. When you care for yourself, you will find others will want to care for you too, because you've already set that energy of I'm important enough to care for. You will be less taken advantage of. So you'll be less taken advantage of because you've set yourself up as being important. You don't have the target on your head anymore of, yeah, I can be taken advantage of. You're putting out that confident energy. I'm worth it. I'm worth nurturing and nourishing myself. I'm important. And people pick up on that. And like I said, it can be life-changing. You'll find if you are being kicked around at work, start a breakfast ritual, make yourself important. It'll change your life. It'll change the way they treat you. So the last ritual is the gray matter ritual, the brain ritual. We've been doing a lot of things for the brain, but this is really for the brain. It's the reading ritual. Successful people read books. So read. Take 5, 10, 20, if you're lucky, 30 minutes to read. You know, you could even get up 30 minutes earlier or 20 minutes earlier if you want the extra 10 minutes of sleep to read. I start my day, my rituals, reading, and I end my day with reading. Water and reading, those are the 2 things I start and begin with, or start and end with, I mean. So take some time to read. Leaders are readers, that's a saying. Plus think back to those long-living nuns. They loved, the number 2 thing was they were curious, so they read. They were readers. The average person, just to give you some stats, the average person reads 1 to 2 books a year. Holy crap. Now I know life is busy, but you can carve out 5 minutes. If you read for 5 minutes a day, you could get through books. Don't get me wrong. I'm dyslexic. I'm actually going to do a video about that too. I'm dyslexic, so I'm a slower reader than most, but because I read so much, I'm actually at the speed of an average reader. I'm not a fast reader, but I'm an average reader. So I've managed to increase the speed of my reading, which I'm really happy about. And I tend not to, I've overcome a lot of the dyslexia. I mean, I still have it, but so I still kind of have to go back and forth a little bit. And dyslexia is more than just mixing words up and things like that. But yes, I've learned how to manage it a little bit better and manage it enough so that I've been able to increase the speed of my reading. Because normally dyslexic people are often slower readers because what they're dealing with, because our brain fires in a different way. Autism is kind of on this spectrum of the gray matter kind of scale. Dyslexia is on this side. So autism is about, one guy I saw talk about it, and it was a really good explanation. He said it's kind of like all our, firings in our brain are like telephone poles, and autistic people have them really close. So that's why, they get detailed and they get really, on to something, right? Dyslexic people have the telephone poles really far apart. So we're firing in a different way because, say the average is here, autism's like this, dyslexic is like this. So dyslexic people are actually very good at thinking outside the box, and they make very good entrepreneurs because they are good at independent work and they're good at thinking outside the box and becoming creative in environments outside of words. So I was like, yay me. But yeah, so that's just a little bit about dyslexia. So I suffer from that, but I have managed to increase my speed. So I'm very happy to say I am not a fast reader, probably never will be, but I read at a fairly decent speed now, and it's because of practice. Lots and lots of practice, because I carve out that time to read. I've also been very blessed with, I had parents who were readers, books were always around me. So, if you have kids, definitely encourage the books. Read to your children. I read to my children. I was read to a lot as a child. I love being read to. And as a dyslexic person, you tend to have a really good memory when you have dyslexia, because you are kind of forced to, because you don't like reading and you're not good at it necessarily. You're good at reading. It's not that you can't read. It's that you read differently and at a different pace. And you're always having to see if everything's in the right order. So you always have to double check everything. So I find when someone reads something to me, I remember it really quickly because that school taught me that, right? Like I would listen to someone else read it and then I could read it too, but I was really reading what I remembered. So, if we were having to do repetitions like that and stuff like that. So like I said, the average person reads 1 to 2 books a year. That's not a lot of books. The average successful CEO reads 4 to 6 books a month. 4 to 6 books a month. I'm at that pace. I'm pretty proud of that. So yeah, 4 to 6 books a month. That's quite a goal. And it, sometimes it's trade books, sometimes it's not always, story books or anything like that. But I mean, reading is reading, right? So read whatever you want. I think I remember reading something about if you read for an hour a day on one subject. So let's say you pick a subject like Greek history. If you pick Greek history and you read 1 hour a day on Greek history for 7 years, you have the same knowledge as a PhD in the same subject. So just think on that. That's not bad. And it didn't cost you a dime except for some books, right? Also, so it's 1 hour a day for 7 years equates to the same level as a PhD on that subject. So you'll have the same subject knowledge on that as a PhD person. So not bad. Now you may have noticed that I didn't say anything about meditation. And that's because all of these rituals are meditations. Meditation isn't always just sitting and umming or sitting and trying to be still. There are such things as moving meditations. So there's moving meditations. Meditating is about making the mundane sacred, about elevating the routine to ritual. Meditating is about focus, mindfulness, and coming back to center constantly. I always jokingly say to clients that meditation is one of the most active activities you can do. It doesn't seem like it, but it really is, because it's a constant coming back to center. It's not about getting rid of thoughts. It's not about having no thoughts, because your brain never shuts off. It's about allowing the thoughts to come in and not to dominate your space. This is my still space right now. A thought comes in. I need to make some carrots for dinner. Okay, I don't need to think about that right now. I'm going to let that keep floating off and come back to center. Oh, I got to clean the kitty litters tonight. Okay, we'll put that over there. And back to center we come. Oh yeah, I promised that client I would write them a message back about the appointment they want to make. Okay, let it float off for now. It'll come back if it's important, because a lot of times things will come in and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I got to hang on to that. Oh my God, I better think about that and hang on to that. And then the meditation is broken. If it's important, it'll come back. It popped in during your meditation, so it will come back and come back to center. And the more you meditate, the more likely you'll find that stuff comes back, because a lot of times we'll come out of meditation and be like, what was that thing I forgot? Oh my God, la la la. Just relax. It'll come back when it's important. So like I said, it's about elevating routine and making it a ritual. Meditating is about being of servitude to yourselves and others. Meditating is about nurturing your body, your mind, and your soul for success and enlightenment. And it all starts with a smile. So thank you for joining me. I know this was a long one. I hope it helps. Those are 11 rituals that will help you gain success every single day of your life for the rest of your life. And it's all about creating success within the first couple of hours of your day. So let me know what you think. If you want to reach me, you can comment below, or you can reach me on Facebook at Goddess Garage Tarot Parlor. You can find me on Patreon at Goddess Garage. You can find me on Instagram at Lady Rose Tarot. Lady Rose Tarot. That's a little bit of a different one. Or you can find me on Twitter as well at Goddess Garage. I'm Lady Rose, and it was my pleasure to give you these 11 rituals so that you can create success every day of your life from now on. Blessed be. Bye.